What's happening, everybody? Happy Friday, unless you're watching live on YouTube on Wednesday night, and welcome to the Dynasty WarZone, the People's Dynasty podcast. And on today's show, it is the other half of the Dirty South. We are doing the Dynasty preview of the NFC South. If you missed Wednesday's show, Jerry and I broke down the AFC South as well as the Cam Akers news, some news on Aaron Rodgers, and a whole lot more. And I'll tell you who's always bringing a whole lot more. He is my co-host. He is the man of the hour and the man with the power. He is Jerry Sinclair. Jerry Sinclair, what's up on a Wednesday?
Nothing, Randall. It is good to sit here and talk to you. I got back-to-back days. I might be the luckiest sumbitch this side of the Mississippi. No, excited to talk NFC South. This is it's definitely not as sexy of a division, but there's a lot of shenanigans afoot. There's a lot of stuff that I'm excited to hear you bash in this division.
I'm glad that it's all negative with me. But if you are listening to this on the Friday podcast, thank you for tuning in. If you're new, we have a YouTube channel, and if you were subscribed to the YouTube channel with notifications turned on, you would have had this podcast Wednesday evening, Thursday morning via YouTube. We're doing all of our mock drafts there. We have a mock draft coming up this coming Monday with the guys over at the Fantasy Football Smackdown. So much better on YouTube watching mock drafts as we get ready for redraft season. And starting the first Wednesday in August, I believe that is the 4th, we're going to be doing a live redraft Q&A show, live on YouTube only. We may make it a podcast, we may not. Tune in and find out. So head over to YouTube to search Dynasty WarZone and subscribe. Jerry, I know you're a subscriber.
Yeah. I do like to listen to myself.
Everyone likes their own brand.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure you've heard that before. Reviews. We did not get any new reviews in the last 24 hours. I can't read them if you don't write them. So head over to Apple, wherever you can leave a review, and we will read it here live on the show. You can find the show on Instagram and Twitter over at Dynasty WarZone on both. And if you're not on socials, you can just hit us up at Gmail. It's dynastywarzone@gmail.com. And we'll be back next week. So Jerry picked the South, he picked the NFC and the AFC South. Next Wednesday, we're going to do the AFC East, the beast in the East, with the AFC East. So it'll be Jets, Bills, Pats, and Dolphins. Jerry, are you excited?
I am always excited to talk anything with you. We could talk the length of grass, and you would find a way to make it entertaining, and you would almost certainly use some southern phrase that I have never heard to do it.
We certainly would, and my grass is looking shabby. You know, we have this travel baseball thing that just ended, so I will get back on my grass mowing regimen. So Jerry, you won't be ashamed for too long. So I am going to take just a pause to talk about the Patreon. We're going to play the Patreon commercial. And if you are listening to this via podcast, you could have gotten this entire podcast early and ad-free by going to youtube.com and watching over there. No ads on the YouTube, just nothing but fantasy football goodness. Jerry, are you ready to go to our hit new segment, the segment everybody loves, Good People, Bad Tweets? Are you ready?
I would like to think that I am, but here we go.
All right, here we go. Good People, Bad Tweets. This tweet says, why sell Cam Akers in Dynasty? ? Sit on him for 12 months. The value will never be what it was yesterday, but it will rebound a lot more than the wet sock you'll get for him today. In August of 2022, he'll be a 23-year-old and 13 months removed from the injury. The hype will be back. The tweeter is at JerrySinDWs. That's not actually a bad tweet. That's a good tweet. We did not find any, because we're not going head hunting with good people, bad tweets. It's just merely a way of keeping the hot takes in check in what is notoriously a hot take season. No, I actually like that tweet. The one thing about that tweet that I wish you had mentioned was right now we're seeing a lot of bad case studies. We're hearing 29-year-old Arian Foster. We're hearing Mikel LaShore, former Lion.
Yeah.
We're hearing that was 10 years ago. Do you know there are 3 industries that if you miss 6 to 18 months that you're way behind in, there's 3 industries. One is football. That is why John Gruden struggles. He was away from the game too long, and he's still not caught up after, like 4 years back in the league? The other one is tech. The tech industry moves very quickly. If you were a tech executive and you stepped away completely from the industry, you're going to be very behind, even in a short period of time. The third one is the medical industry. What was cutting edge 10 years ago is old hat and being replaced right now. So the way that we treated and tended to Mikel LaShore's Achilles, or Arian Foster's Achilles, or even Demaryius Thomas, who had a good return from an Achilles, is different. The best case study we're going to have is going to be Marlon Mack. We talked about that on last night's show. I just needed a good person with a bad tweet, except I found a good person with a good tweet, Jerry. So you can let out a sigh of relief. I'm going to give you a little bit of this. I know that it's rare that I give you the round of applause, but you are a good person. That was a good tweet. You're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. Making rash and sudden moves for Cam, just put him on your IR. Put him on the IR. Just move him there, leave him there. And again, my only move with Cam Akers is going to be in season. If I'm still contending, and if I'm not contending, you can go the opposite route. We didn't mention this last night. If you're not contending and you have a Chris Carson, and maybe a contender has him stashed on the back end of their bench, hey, how would you like a little depth for your man Cam Akers? Those are the kind of Cam Akers moves. So good job, Gerald. I'm gonna give you a big thumbs up for your tweet there. You were a good person. Actually, it could be the opposite. Bad person, good tweet. How about
there you
that? A bad person with a great tweet.
It's just me tweeting every time.
It's just Jerry.
Me every week.
We call those Jerry tweets.
I got a little bit of pushback on that tweet, but
what kind of pushback did you hear?
Nothing. Just people saying that you should sell him immediately. There were some good arguments. I'm not.
Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Did they feel like the same people who told you like 2 years ago to trade Tyreek Hill the minute he was alleged to have hurt his son? Because it feels like they would be.
Yeah.
Patience is still a virtue, especially in Dynasty.
This is what I will say from the interactions I had with people to get a better grasp on the Cam Akers opinions that are floating around. Treat him like he's a first-round pick. He's not going to help you. You could probably get a first-round pick right now. He's only going to accrue in value the further away you get from the injury. And once the off-season hype really starts hitting in 12 months, you should see a little peak. So yes, if you can get a first-round pick, I'm not totally opposed to it. It's not an egregious take or anything. I just think you can get a little bit more, because I think there are going to be people, and I think there's going to be 100 podcasts that do it and 10,000 tweets that do it, that are going to say, Cam Akers is going to be back. Don't let Darrell Henderson struggle. Don't let Marlon Mack come in and look healthy, because that is only going to intensify the hype.
And how long before you see Marlon Mack back on a football field? 6 days. For those that don't know, it's less than a week from as we are recording this live on YouTube, and just a couple of days as you're listening to this on podcast if you're listening on Friday. It is not that far. Just simply, this is what I would do. If you're curious, here's a case study. Follow the Colts. It's Mike Wells. He's the Colts ESPN beat writer. Follow him on Twitter. Go to the Colts Instagram page. Follow it. Look for stories and Instagram posts involving Marlon Mack. Hopefully you can see some snippets of Marlon Mack moving. Now it's training camp. They all look good in training camp. They're not really tackling or hitting. But you want to see, what's his speed look like? Does he look explosive? Anything that you can see as it relates to Marlon Mack moving is going to tell you or give you a better indication of what Cam Akers does. So just chill. I know that's hard to do.
Here, let me say one more thing before I know we talked a lot about Cam Akers last week, but the one way that he does lose value going forward is if Marlon Mack looks like an old log and can't do anything, or he re-injures himself, or if Darrell Henderson absolutely explodes, because then he's going to have a role either way, plus Cam Akers will have the recovery from the injury. I think that's the only way that you don't see him increase in value going into next season.
Cam Akers' ownership is just going to be a big sweat.
It is.
It's going to be for different reasons, going to be very similar to rostering Deshaun Watson. You're just going to have to fade and be able to sweat various obstacles along the way. If Cam Akers gets through the next free agency period in March and the Rams don't bring in another running back, that's a checkbox. If he gets through the draft next year and the Rams don't bring in another running back, that's your final checkbox. So you're going to have to live with some checkbox moments between now and then. Just continue to keep an ear out on Cam Akers news. All right, Jerry, let's get into the NFC Dirty South. Get it out of the way. We blame Ludacris. Big Ludacris fans. Better Ludacris song. Favorite Ludacris song? Do you have one?
Yeah. Area codes. I'm not going to sing it because I probably shouldn't. But
I would love to do a segment.
Welcome to Atlanta. I don't know if Welcome to Atlanta is actually
that's Jermaine Dupri.
Yeah, I was going to say I thought it was actually his, but I think I would still go area codes. I mean, Blueberry Yum Yum is a good one too. It gets stuck in my head, but
I'm going to go Southern Hospitality for a multitude of reasons.
Yeah.
But Ludacris, man, he helped us coin the Dirty South. Someone's going to hit my DMs. Maybe they're going to comment on YouTube. They're going to say something like it was Master P or, Birdman. Yeah. Put some respect on my name. Hey, listen, we're just a couple of dudes who enjoy rap music, so it is what it is. All right, let's get into this. So who is the player that you are looking to buy in Dynasty before he starts popping in camp in about a week? Who's that guy? Who are you buying right now? Because in a week the price is only going to go up.
So this one's sort of easy because there's not a ton of impact rookies for the most part in this division. So I went with Terrence Marshall of the Panthers. He's got Sam Darnold coming in there. He's got, Joe Brady and everything else that they've got going on. So it's sort of an exciting offense. And if Sam Darnold can pop, Terrence Marshall should be able to pop, especially with everybody looking at DJ Moore. That was sort of mine. There's not a ton of options in this one, though. I don't know. I know you're a Terrence Marshall guy, so I'm guessing you probably picked him. But if you didn't, I am a little bit curious. So who did you go with? Was it Terrence Marshall or did you go a different route?
It's actually Terrace. There's no N. It's Terrace Marshall Jr.
Thanks a lot, Jerry. See, I always give you a hard time because you don't know how to pronounce names, and here I am.
Here I am with words. When I start correcting your grammar, you are fucked. But I do like Terrace Marshall Jr. a ton. Second round draft capital. Robbie Anderson, final year of his deal. The Joe Brady connection. The new quarterback. And by the way, we give Sam Darnold a hard time. He had mono. He saw ghosts. A lot of different issues. Here's the thing. Teddy Bridgewater has never thrown for more than 15 touchdowns in a season. At least Sam Darnold has done that twice. He's got 17 and 19, which isn't a shit pile, but it's a shit pile more than 15. So he's got a slight improvement at quarterback. I think he's going to be the deep threat. I don't think he'll be a volume guy in year one, but I think going forward, he and DJ Moore will be nice complements of each other, and Robbie Anderson's going to be kind of that bridge guy. But I think it's great. I think not only is he great a value for Dynasty, I think he's great for DJ Moore. I think you're going to see a lot more Robbie Anderson and Marshall on the outside, letting DJ Moore slide into the slot. But I had a backup just in case you went Marshall, because we don't discuss these prior to the show, because what we don't want this to do is to feel like it's canned and we're forcing the answer. I just give Jerry the questions, he answers them, we discuss them on the show. I did have a backup, and for me it's also Tommy Tremble. I think this guy is going to look better in camp. I've been a fan for a long time. I know that Dan Arnold was signed there as a free agent, but good tight ends are hard to find, and I do believe there is sneaky upside. People are like, well, why are you so interested in Tommy Tremble? He's a tight end. Listen, here's why. He's a rookie. You take Tommy Tremble, you get him, you put him on your taxi squad. If he does nothing in 24 months, you cut him and replace him with the next upside tight end. That's how this works. Okay? He's a scratch-off lottery ticket. You go into the gas. Jerry, you ever done this? You ever go into the gas station? You buy $10 worth of gas and a soda and a snack or whatever. It's like $18. You're like, give me a couple of those lottery tickets. You're just hoping to scratch one off and maybe win $500. Maybe win $1,000. More often than not, you're going to throw that ticket in the trash. And that's what you could do with Tommy Tremble. But at least he's in an offense we like. And Joe Brady, when he was in LSU calling the plays, he did make Thaddeus Moss a draftable or at least a rosterable NFL player. So there is upside, there is potential. So we're in lockstep on Terrace Marshall Jr. I don't think you can go wrong there, but if you're looking for a second one, because I wanted to have a spare, Tommy Tremble would be my dude. Now, who are you looking to sell once training camp starts? Because I've got kind of a unique name, but I'm gonna let you go first.
Mine's not one name. It's whoever the winner of the New Orleans quarterback duo becomes. Whether it's Taysom Hill or whether it's Jameis Winston, whoever it is, that'll be the person that I will want to get rid of. As soon as we know the name, that name gets a boost, right? And I think the narrative is that Jameis throws it a ton, and Taysom Hill was pretty successful. I don't want any part of it. They're losing Julio Jones in that offense. Taysom Hill did not really do much to Alvin Kamara's value. We're going to talk about that later. I don't really want any of those quarterbacks. They're not going to be the quarterback of the future either. So these are band-aids that are not actually helping you solve it. It's like a band-aid, but it's got a little bit of poop on it. So it's not even helping the little cut that you have heal. I'm good on those guys. Randy, thoughts on the quarterbacks? Who you got, homie?
Well, I'm actually going to bring them up under a different category, but I agree. The more I hear the talk, the more I'm starting to believe it's actually Tyson Hill or Taysom Hill, however the blue hell you pronounce it, and it's going to be scary. It's just not going to be good because I just feel like they'll keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and I am just not. I'm not sold. I'm not sold that I want either one of those guys. Now, if you have them as like a QB3,
of course,
and you get the opportunity to sell them off to a team that needs a QB before the cool in the gang. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't mind that one. My guy that I'm looking to sell once camp gets going is the metrics monster that all the analytics nerds just love, Traquan Smith. Someone's going to be projected to be the wide receiver too. I know there's Marquez or Marquez Callaway. There's Deontay Harris. There's Traquan Smith. There's I don't give a shit. No, wait a minute, he's not a wide receiver. It's just that I don't give a shit. Traquan Smith, if he hasn't broke out yet, not likely to happen. He had every opportunity last year when Michael Thomas was banged up. I know people love his 4.49 speed at 6'2", got a great burst score, good catch radius, all the things that a 86th percentile breakout age at 19.2. All of those things meant a lot to a lot of people, but if this was year 2, maybe I'd be more interested in Traquan Smith, but this is year 4. I'm not going into a year 4 breakout on Traquan Smith. I think we're going to see some nifty plays, especially with a Jameis Winston, who does have the arm and will push the ball downfield, unlike Drew Brees. Jameis Winston will throw it into double and triple coverage in camp, which is probably what will cost him a job, but it will make Traquan Smith look good as camp gets going, and that's going to be the opportunity for me to sell off my stray Traquan Smith share. Jerry, thoughts on Traquan Smith, and then we're going to move on.
Yeah, I don't know. He was one of those dart throws, those Tommy Trembles that you talked about from a couple years ago. Hasn't happened yet.
24 months, baby.
Yep, I'm throwing that scratch off away too. I'm with you.
I mean, it's like you scratch. If you're watching live on YouTube, I'm not pulling at Jerry. This is a much better visual on YouTube than it is podcast. But you're like, Cherry, Bell. Aw, that's Traquan Smith. But here's the thing. He teases you. People love a good flash. People love a flash. And he's going to flash. Again, Jameis, you're going to see some wicked gif or gif of Jameis Winston, chucking it into triple coverage and him making a nice catch. Immediately, don't run, don't walk to your MFL, your sleeper league, and start trying to unload this guy on someone else. Next category, this one's becoming my personal favorite category. The player that you're holding going into the season that you're going to look back on and wished you had sold. Jerry, I've got a big name, so I'm going to let you go. Who is the player that you're holding now, but in season you're going to be like, damn, I wish I had sold?
I think it's going to be Matt Ryan. Also, I think in the last segment I said they had Julio Jones when I was talking about New Orleans. I'm an idiot. I just misspoke. Um,
We knew
because
both
I'm
those
gonna,
things. It's fine. Just keep
yeah,
keep going.
I'm gonna say that right now because he lost Julio Jones, and I think he is going to realize how big of an issue that is. It's like when Matthew Stafford lost Kelvin Johnson and had to settle. I mean, he's at least got Kelvin Ridley, right? But Golden Tate as your wide receiver one is not the same as having Calvin. And I don't think Calvin Ridley as your wide receiver one is going to be the same as having Julio. He's getting older. He's right now, he's sort of that tier of like either you've waited on quarterbacks and he's your top one, or he's the guy that you missed your QB2 trying to stack quarterbacks early, and he's just the last guy you're taking, right? We're getting close to the end of Matt Ryan. They already had the 4th overall pick, and that was with Julio Jones. Now I get him without Julio Jones. Do I really think they're going to be exponentially better because they took a tight end with the 4th overall pick? I don't know. As a Lions fan, I can tell you that that does not usually translate to wins. So they could very easily be in a position to draft early again. How many times are they going to avoid the quarterback talk? So I think it's Matt Ryan because he is generally much more productive than where his ADP is. This year, he's got a lot changing, and he's getting older. He's losing pieces. I don't know. I think you're going to be wishing you had gotten rid of him, even if it's for a guy that we always talk about Sam Darnold all the time. Even if it's for somebody you don't generally like, but maybe has a better looking future. I think the answer is Matt Ryan. Randy, thoughts on Matty Ryan? You said you got a big name. Fire away.
Well, I do. I do have a big name, and I agree with Matt Ryan. Here's the thing with Matt Ryan, and I'm going to disagree slightly. And the purpose of this show is not for us to sit here and slap each other on the back and say, man, that's a damn good answer, Jerry. I actually think you get this year and next year out of Matt Ryan due to his contract. Same thing with Kirk Cousins. Kirk with a K, not Kurt with a T, but Kirk Cousins. Matt Ryan's dead cap right now is $65 million if they had cut or traded him prior to this season. So that was as much of an issue not drafting a quarterback at 4 overall as it was anything else. And then next year, his dead cap number is $40 million. Now in 2023, it's going to drop down to $15 million, and that's when I believe you'll see Matty Ice hit the road. I also think there's a real possibility where offensive coordinator Arthur Smith could inject some new life into this offense the same way that he did with Ryan Tannehill.
And that would change things. Yes, you are correct.
So I think this could be the opposite. He's the guy for you, at least in the case of Matt Ryan, that you could hang on to now and be able to sell in season for a tidy profit should a Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes, a Dak, like Dak last year. He's the kind of guy who could be playing at such a pace that you could move Matt Ryan in season to a contender that lost a key quarterback because he is playing so well. He's a 2-year asset based on his contract, and maybe you could get something pretty decent in return. So I like the thought process, and I believe you would be 100% correct if he didn't have a $65 million dead cap number this year and a $40 million, because Philadelphia would love it. Hey, come break our record of a $33 million dead cap number that they took for Carson Wentz. So we're in agreement there. My guy is Kyle Pitts. I wish I had a record scratch. Because people are like, how are you going to regret not selling, Kyle Pitts? Because I see people on Twitter posting trades that said, I was offered Travis Kelce straight up for Kyle Pitts, and I didn't take it. That's a good person with a bad tweet. I mean, he's a rookie tight end. And you're going to look back, and we're going to look back after this year, and we're going to say, you know what? That was awful reminiscent of Evan Ingram. That was awful reminiscent of rookie year TJ Hawkinson. That's not to say that you might not be happy you kept him in 3 years. But here's the thing, and when I made this decision, I tweeted this out earlier at DWZ Memphis on Twitter, and I was like, what's the difference between Kyle Pitts and guys like TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant, Evan Ingram, O.J. Howard? A lot of these guys who went in the first round of the NFL draft, I'll tell you this, I think it's because he went in the SEC And SEC games of the week are on CBS all the time. They're on ESPN all the time. He was only sharing the field with Kadarius Toney as the other option in the offense. It was a pass funnel offense to Kyle Pitts. It was designed to make him look good. You know, TJ Hawkinson and Noah Fant played college ball together. They sort of cannibalized each other on a run-first, old-fashioned-ish offense
Not-ish.
in Iowa. You know, O.J. Howard was a beast coming out of Alabama. He played with Calvin Ridley, and 4 other wide receivers on that team went to the NFL. I mean, their names like Ardarius Stewart and Robert Foster, so they didn't set the world on fire, but 4 other wide receivers and Calvin Ridley were all on that team. And it was friggin' Alabama. And so all of these guys, and I ask myself, could TJ Hawkinson have done what Kyle Pitts did in Florida if he was in that exact same situation? Could Noah Fant? And my answer is yeah, I think they probably could. That's not to say that Kyle Pitts is not going to be a good tight end and he's not going to continue to get better. I just think you're going to look back and you're going to say, damn, I could have got Travis Kelce plus, could have got Darren Waller plus. I could have gotten more points in my lineup. Now, again, in 3 years, you may not regret it, but this just feels crazy to see where he's going relative to where Hawkinson, Fant, and you're not going to tell me he's a better athlete. Go to playerprofiler.com, pull up Noah Fant's player profiler metrics, and then pull up Kyle Pitts. He may be as good an athlete, but he's not a better athlete than Noah Fant. So I do like Pitts. I just think this hype has made his value so high that you're going to wonder why you didn't cash out for a tidy profit. Jerry, I'm here to protect myself from the slings and arrows, but what do you think about my Kyle Pitts take?
Okay, well, we have to talk about it a little more because this is definitely going to be the topic of the show. I agree. You want to know what the answer is about why he's different than TJ Hawkinson and Evan Ingram and Noah Fant and everybody else, OJ Howard? He's the new one. And I don't think enough people have played this game for long enough and they haven't made mistakes or they don't learn from their mistakes, Randy. Tight ends do this. Tight ends are going to struggle. But, you know, learn from your mistakes. That's what I'll say. If you think Kyle Pitts is going to come into this league and get 1,200 yards out the gate, I think you're a fucking dope. And I say that in the most sincere form. And I do hope that it happens for you. That is such a risky bet, and there is no history behind it. Like, let's look at their college numbers for one, though, right? So I got Hawk and I got Pitts up here. So Kyle Pitts last year, right? 43 catches, 770 yards, 12 touchdowns. TJ Hawkinson, who was in Iowa and had Noah Fant there, 49 catches, 760 yards, 6 touchdowns. So a couple more catches, 10 less yards, a lot less touchdowns. Yeah, he played less games, Kyle Pitts did, but like you were saying, he got funneled the ball. And if you have ever watched Kirk Ferentz play the game or coach the game of football, which if you've watched Iowa in the last 141 years, it's been Kirk Ferentz there the whole time. It's the most boring offense you have ever watched in your life because they just it's like you're watching a football game from 1981, which is sort of what the Big Ten does, and he exemplifies that. It's just I don't get it. I understand that everybody gets super excited about the guy that everybody gets excited about, and that just builds it and it makes it bigger and it consumes everybody. I don't want to say echo chamber, but it's a fucking echo chamber.
Let me hit you with this, okay? You ready for this? You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
You ready? Yeah. Most receiving yards by a tight end in their rookie season. Are you ready? I'm going to give you the top 5 all-time and their yardage total. Are you ready?
Okay, shoot.
Number 5. I'm going to go in reverse order to build a little suspense. How about that, Jerry?
Yep. Okay.
I'm a professional.
I know Evan Ingram's on this list, too.
That would be incorrect.
Oh, okay. All right.
John Mackey, 764 yards in 1963.
Okay, when tight ends and fullbacks were the elite positions. Okay, continue.
Charlie Young, no relation,
No, he is.
864 yards in 1973.
Okay, fullbacks and tight ends, still big. Got it.
Keith Jackson, home Marseille. Keith Jackson, 869 yards in 1988. Jeremy Shockey, a name we all know, big fan of Jeremy Shockey, 894 yards in 2002. And the all-time yardage leader in a rookie season for a tight end,
Oh, it's Mike Ditka, isn't it?
Mike Ditka,
Yeah.
1,076 yards. We're talking about a record that has stood for 60 years for a reason. Not Rob Gronkowski, not Tony Gonzalez, not Antonio Gates, not Aaron Hernandez, not O.J. Howard, not T.J. Hawkinson, not Brandon Pettigrew. I could go on and on.
Why is it always Lions, guys?
Because the Lions are idiots. But I could go on and on and on about all these amazing rookie tight ends coming into the league that are just going to smash, and they never do. Now, is Kyle Pitts in a great situation? Sure he is. Does he get an extra game? Can he potentially make that list? I think it would be a tremendous disappointment if he doesn't. But just remember, think about all the names that we've already mentioned. Fant, Ingram, Hawkinson, and all these guys. They didn't make that list. And is Kyle Pitts good? Yes. Is he potentially generational? Absolutely. But from a dynasty standpoint, and that's what the fuck we're doing here, right? From a dynasty standpoint, his value may never be higher than it is today, because if you can't get Kyle Pitts, it's plural, if you can't get Kyle Pitts for Travis Kelce, or I got that backwards, you can't get him, you can't trade Travis Kelce and get Kyle Pitts, you're never going to get higher than that. Again, you can't win the table, so there is some more Kyle Pitts talk. Not that we don't like him, I just think you're going to look back and wish that you had gotten the full value out of him. All right, Jerry, here we go. I also had a couple other names on there, Mike Thomas and Michael Davis. So I got those backwards. It's Mike and Mike. But
Mike Davis is a good one.
Who is the biggest upside play in this division?
I sort of hate it. Part of me really wants to say DJ Moore, right? Like, but that's also because I sort of believe in Sam Darnold.
Still my heart.
Right. Like, it's just, I want to believe that, what did you say? Teddy Bridgewater's never thrown over 15 touchdowns or something absurd like that?
Never.
Yeah, that's gross.
Not one time.
So, and like we said, Sam Darnold hasn't either. Well, he hasn't thrown for much more, but he's also had Adam Gase. So
is 17 more than 15?
Yes, it is.
Is 19 more than 15?
Just by a little.
Well, actually, like 19's like, what, 30% more than 15? So I'm just throwing that out there. Keep going. I'm sorry.
So we have to hope, right, that Adam Gase was the problem. We have to hope that he's going to Ryan Tannehill us. And he's going to be like 24 years old or whatever the hell he is. And we have to hope, please, give DJ Moore some touchdowns. Give him the same volume. I don't even need more of the volume. Give him 3 more touchdowns. Give him 6 more touchdowns. I won't know what to do with myself if you gave that man 6 more touchdowns, and neither would his ADP, because it would skyrocket right as he was hitting his quote-unquote peak age. I think I'm going to go DJ Moore. It is the only one on this list that I didn't write a name down, but as soon as I started talking, I think I'm going to go DJ Moore because I'm going to trust Sam Darnold, and it may make me the stupidest human this side of the Mississippi. I already said I was the luckiest guy this side of Mississippi. I may as well be the stupidest too. I'm going to double down. I'm going to go with Sam Darnold. I'm going to trust that he is going to help me out post Adam Gase. And DJ Moore is going to get me some touchdowns, Randy.
I mean, you don't have to convince me of DJ Moore. I love DJ Moore. He started, I guess he's played 16, 15, and 15 games over his 3-year rookie career. Now he's actually been listed as the starter in 10, 15, and 14, but he's missed 2 games in his career. His target load has been 82, 135, and 18. His yardage total has been 1175 and 1193 the last 2 years. So we're talking about just a tick under 1,200 yard seasons, back-to-back years. And you're right, he's only had 4 touchdowns. For me, I went a little bit more deeper down the roster. I went a guy that you're familiar with. You were a big fan of when he was in college. He's a Big Ten guy. Our buddy Kane Fassell from the Devi Marketplace will agree.
Oh,
It's Tyler Johnson of Minnesota University. And here's some of my reasons why. I think that Antonio Brown is always one missing of a call from Tom Brady from losing his wig and getting suspended again or getting thrown out of the league. Mike Evans has, even though he plays an amazing game, his physical condition just seems to be deteriorating. I mean, he's been in the league going into year 8, and he plays a very physical style. And we saw some flashes out of Tyler Johnson down the run last year and in the playoffs. And he's just a guy that I think you'll get some upside out of this year, but I think you want to nab him now. So we know the Buccaneers are kicking the salary cap can down the road. They paid everybody. I believe they're the first Super Bowl winner in the history of the Super Bowl to bring back all 22 starters the very next year. Now, they didn't reach a long-term agreement with Chris Godwin. I can't see them having the cap space to franchise tag him twice. I could see Godwin wanting to get that big money. Antonio Brown's in his 30s. It's only going to be a matter of time before a guy like Tyler Johnson is forced to step up, whether it's due to injury, whether it's due to underperforming of a veteran. And I don't think you're going to get a better time to nab Tyler Johnson in a Dynasty League than you are right now. I also want to throw out the name Stevie Scott. Now, I heard this on Twitter via the guys over at Roster Watch, and I heard the guys over at Roto Underworld talking about him as well. He's an undrafted free agent running back out of Indiana, and a lot of these guys are fans. If you go to Player Profiler, he is most comparable to James Conner. James Conner, will wind up in the miscellaneous C section, not confused with that actual C section. But when you go back in the history of fantasy football and look in the miscellaneous C's, you'll find James Conner, and you'll find on his player card that he had a couple of good seasons for fantasy football. So he's a Latavius Murray injury away. He's a Alvin Kamara injury away from being interesting. And I literally got him for free in several Dynasty leagues today. I don't want to take too much credit for that, because again, I heard it from the guys at Roster Watch, but it made sense. And maybe you have heard it, or maybe you haven't. But it's my job when I hear it to share it with you, our consumers. And so I'm going to just throw out the name Stevie Scott and Tyler Johnson. Jerry, had you heard the name Stevie Scott? And then what do you think of Tyler Johnson?
So they're both Big Ten guys, right? I liked Stevie Scott a lot at Indiana, actually. And now it sort of pisses me off that you probably have him in the leagues that we had. I did like the guy, and he's a good pass catcher too. Good guy. Tyler Johnson, I'm a little suspect on. I don't know. I get it, and Antonio Brown is old, and I'm going to talk about him here in a second in our next little segment. So I mean, and he could do something so stupid. Like I don't really think he's gonna. I think Tom Brady's got the man in check, but I don't know. He does show flashes. There's just a lot of mouths to feed, so I don't want to rely on that. But Randy, what's the next one? What do we got talking next?
Our next player that will outperform his current ADP, for me, this was one that I will save because we've talked about one of these guys, but I'm going to let you go. Who is the guy that will outperform his current value? Who are you going to look back at in, say, 2 months and be like, you know what, this guy's kicking ass?
I think everybody's going to hate it. That's what I think, Randall. And I think you're really going to hate it. But I think it's Lombardi Lenny. I mean, that man is going super late. And that dude's playoff run was silly. I mean, we've seen this man be an RB1, right? Like, you can't say he's had a bad career. The man has had a great career. And then it got down to crunch time. I mean, he was, oh my God, he was ugly and putrid through most of the season, right? And then he gets into the playoffs and boom, 120 combined yards, 100 yards, 70 yards, 130 yards in all 4 games. Like he was getting it. And if the confidence is back, and I don't have any championship rings, but I'm guessing it probably helps him It makes you really want to keep going, especially when you still have Tom Brady and you still have all of your starters and you get to play in Florida and it's just a jolly good time to actually win and not be on the worst franchise in the league outside of Detroit. I think he is going to outperform it. Because people effing hate the man, right? Like he is a cancerous asset for a lot of dynasty players. They would rather take the Javian Hawkins of the world and just hope that dart throw pans out. Leonard Fournette's proven that he can play in the league. Ronald Jones, bless his sweetheart, he tries. I give him some credit, and he's still a young guy. He's got a chance. But after the confidence that I think Lenny got from his Lombardi Lenny run, I'm gonna say that man outperforms, and I think he is going to have a very good season.
He is going as RB35 in a dynasty startup per the team at Fantasy Pros. Guys in that neighborhood. Ronald Jones at RB30. I would take Lenny over Ronald Jones. Damian Harris, he's at 32. I'm easily taking Damon Harris.
I'm taking Damian Harris.
Zach Moss. What about Lombardi Lenny versus Melvin Gordon? A new competition for both. Obviously, Rojo already in Tampa Bay. They signed Giovanni Bernard. Mike Davis is at 36. This is a range where I think Lombardi Lenny might close a tier for me. Right there at Tony Pollard. I think he closes a tier, but if you're a contender in a 17-game season, there's going to be weeks where you're going to look over and you're going to be like, damn it, I wouldn't mind having a Leonard Fournette right now, as gross as that is to say.
I agree. That's what I say. Like people view him exactly how you just did right there. Like everyone's like, once he hit the old and busted thing, like Ezekiel Elliott's working his way there. Like if Zeke got cut and got placed on some other team, he would be the new Leonard Fournette.
You know what he is? You know what Leonard Fournette is? He's a moped. He's a moped. You know when you go on the beach, you want to rent that moped. You want to. You don't want your friends to see you. You don't want to see your friends to see you. You don't want your wife to Instagram a story or a picture of you on the moped. But you secretly, you see that moped and you're like, it'd be pretty cool if we rode that moped. And that's how it is about Leonard Fournette. You're going to get in season. You're going to see him doing okay. You're going to see him putting up 12 PPR points a game. And you're going to be like, you know what? I wish I had Leonard Fournette. I wish I had Leonard Fournette.
If you could play Leonard Fournette and nobody saw that you were playing Leonard Fournette, more people would like him.
I agree. So, all right, I'm going to get into mine. And this is a little bit of Homer territory. I have no problem admitting that because it's just how it is. For me, it's DJ Moore. I love DJ Moore. We just talked about DJ Moore. Back-to-back 1,175 plus yard seasons. Again, per Fantasy Pros because it's easy to pull up on my computer as we're recording. He is their wide receiver 15 in a startup. I have no argument with their rankings of Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, Adams, Metcalf, Jefferson, Diggs, Ridley, Hopkins, Lamb ahead of him. But I do believe that when we look back in one calendar year, DJ Moore, his ADP is going to be ahead of DeAndre Hopkins. It's going to be ahead of Michael Thomas. It's probably going to be ahead of Allen Robinson. And I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't ahead of wide receiver 14, if it wasn't ahead of Chris Godwin. You're right. He is ready to explode. You remember that guy like Salt Bay that sprinkled in some touchdown or sprinkled in some salt on things?
Oh yeah.
We need Sam Darnold to be touchdown Bay. To sprinkle in some touchdowns on DJ Moore. We get that man from 4 to 8. It's a completely different conversation about DJ Moore. And you mentioned the age apex and coming into his prime. He just turned 24 in April. According to several sites that have done great research on this, again, our buddies Josh Larkey and Cody Carpentier over at Roto Underworld. Roto Underworld says that a wide receiver peaks around age 27. So you mean to tell me I get 3 more years of DJ Moore before he hits his peak or his apex of performance? And then you probably still have 2 to 3 good years beyond that. So you're telling me I can get DJ Moore and he can be a solid asset on my Dynasty roster for 6 more years? Sign me up. I'm in. I do like Antonio Brown. Dude, that Bucs offense is going to be wide open. They play in a division which we're talking about where defense is optional. And let's be honest, this is the NFL. They want offense. So you attach yourself to good leagues. If you have Antonio Brown as like a wide receiver 4 or 5, that's perfect. Because he's literally, you're going to play him as your wide receiver 4 or a 3 as a flex some weeks, and he's going to have some monsters, and he's going to help you get over the hump. So you had Lombardi Lenny. I had DJ Moore. All right, favorite category, we saved the best for last. Who is going to be the biggest dynasty bust in this division after the 2021 season?
You want me taking this one first? You want to take this one?
I'm going to let you take this one first. I got a big name. We went Julio Jones both yesterday. I'm going to let you go first.
If we're going a big name, I wouldn't be surprised if we're going the same one right now, too.
I love it. Say it.
Okay, it's probably
on the count of 3. We'll do it. This is great for YouTube. I don't know how it sounds for podcasts, but You ready? 1, 2, 3. Mike
Alvin
Evans.
Kamara.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go first. So you have Alvin Kamara. I have Mike Evans. Tell me why we're going to look back in 12 months and say, holy cow, Alvin Kamara was a bust, and now his dynasty value is bad.
He is going to be 26 years old this season, which means going into the next season, he is going to be 27. Let's look at his targets. This is going to be my entire argument, right? Drew Brees. Not targets, excuse me, receptions. In the preceding games before Taysom Hill took over, 8 receptions, 9 receptions, 5 receptions, 7 receptions. Randy Young. Let's talk about what he did with Taysom Hill. 0 receptions, 1 reception for -2 yards, 2 receptions for 9 yards. And then he had a good one with 7 receptions. Not going to be the same guy. He has hit the age aspect of the running back. I don't want to say it's a plateau because it's not. It eventually just falls off into the abyss. He's getting older. This is a system that has completely changed on him without Drew Brees, Hall of Fame quarterback, and a guy with an arm that really was conducive to dumping off to Alvin Kamara. Taysom Hill doesn't love to do that. Jameis Winston likes to throw YOLO balls to the guys like Mike Evans, which is probably why Randy's going to tell you that he's done for because he doesn't have Jameis Winston throwing him the damn ball. I don't love it. And here's the other thing. Like, do I think Alvin Kamara is a great talent? And do I still think he's going to be productive? Of course I do. Guess where you're taking Alvin Kamara, though, Randy? You're taking that dude at like the 9th pick of a startup. There's no way he's fallen into the middle of the 2nd round. And if he's not anywhere close to that production, no, thank you. I'm good on that. Randy, give me your thoughts on Alvin Kamara. I'm not going to talk too much about it because it is 100% dependent on the QB change. And it is a small sample size, don't get me wrong, but 4 games is not nothing of him being balls. Like, not even like he was okay. He was absolutely a detriment to start when Taysom Hill was there. And if Taysom Hill ends up being the starter, ew. And I'm not thinking it's any better with Jameis. Randy, sorry, I know I sent it to you and then I kept rambling. It's what I do. Now take it away, friend.
This is not necessarily just isolated to Alvin Kamara. This is a running back going. You can just submit any names. It's Alvin Kamara, running back going into year 5 on the big 2nd contract. It makes me nervous. Not just him. It makes me nervous with Christian McCaffrey. It makes me nervous with Joe Mixon. It makes me nervous with Dalvin Cook. It's not that I don't like these guys. All of these guys are studs in a redraft format. But in Dynasty, man, we've seen stud running backs go from hero to zero real quick. Ask David Johnson. Ask Todd Gurley. 1 minute you're on the top of the mountain setting records at the running back position. I'm looking dead at you, Christian McCaffrey. And then the next year you have an injury, and then it becomes this slow, precipitous slide. And the next thing you know, your dynasty value is a wet popcorn fart. And it's not fair, but it's the nature of the running back position. I tell you right now, you let Christian McCaffrey miss or Alvin Kamara miss a significant chunk of time, probably more so McCaffrey because he already missed time last year than Alvin Kamara. But you let Alvin Kamara start, doing the narrative that Jerry laid out where he continues to struggle with Taysom Hill as the quarterback, and you're going to lose tremendous value very quickly. It's part of the reason why right now in a startup, unless I'm getting like one of the top 8 quarterbacks in a super flex, or like one of the top 3 or 4 running backs in even in a startup, I mean, I want all the first round in a non-super flex. I will trade my first, and I will probably give you the best value in the history of first round trade ups ever. I do not want to have to spend first round draft capital on Alvin Kamara, on Zeke Elliott, on Christian McCaffrey. I just don't. And it's way too early to draft a wide receiver there. So I'd rather just trade back and get more of those guys in the second and third round. I'll give you my first and fourth for your second and third. Come get it. Come and get it. Let me get 4 of those guys in the middle. I can quote unquote reach a little bit and get some younger guys at the running back position. Previously would have been a guy like Cam Akers or your boy DeAndre Swift or someone like that. But no, man, this is not just it's funny that both Kamara and McCaffrey are in the same division, but it's really more of an injury concern, a poor performance concern, and what it takes to acquire them and roster them in a dynasty league. It's like money. It's like investing in the stock market. You don't want it in a sketchy asset. Not that they're sketchy, because they're going to kick ass this year. It's long-term, future-looking. So, all right, Mike Evans. I mean, here's some. First of all, Mike Evans is not even 28 years old. He's still 27 as we speak. He's a month away. August 21st is his birthday. A month from the day. Happy birthday, Mike. We know you listen, kid. Thank you. For me, he's coming off of his worst statistical season of his career. Let me ask you this. You know what the difference is between Mike Davis's 2020 and Corey Davis's is?
Mike Evans and Corey Davis, you mean?
Yeah. What was the difference between Mike Evans' 2020 and Corey Davis's 2020?
I know the yardage is not that much different, so I'm just going to guess like 5 or 6 touchdowns or something.
8 touchdowns.
There
Corey Davis had 65 catches. Mike Evans had 70. Corey Davis had 985 yards. Mike Evans had 1,006. So he had 5 more catches for 21 more yards, but he had 8 more touchdowns. Tom Brady's not likely to go anywhere. He says he wants to play this year and next and complete his goal of playing through age 45. And we know that Antonio Brown's there. It's just a lot of options in this offense. And he doesn't feel like to be the chosen one. I think the days of 96 catches for 1,300 yards or 86 catches for 1,500 yards are over. This is a different offense with different playmakers around him and different sensibilities. And for those reasons, given with the fact that, too, again, he's got a hell of a record. 7 straight 1,000-yard seasons. But for me, he's the wide receiver 19 per Fantasy Pros. I would much rather get out and get someone in that area. So that's why I think he'll be a bust. I don't think you'll ever be able to recoup a wide receiver. I think even though he'll only be 29 this time next year, or getting ready to turn 29, we'll be talking about him the way that we're already talking about Julio Jones. And I think it's just because he's been so good for so long. So what do you think about my Mike Evans take, Jerry?
It's tough, right? So I think Antonio Brown is going to have a great season. And
I think he's going to have a great season too. And is that offense going to give you 3 1,000-yard receivers?
See, and that's tough. Because my heart says, look at Mike Evans' numbers, and you see 4 digits on every single one of them, and that is so unbelievably impressive that I can't even put words to it to make it sound poetic enough. It's unbelievable. And he does catch touchdowns at an unbelievable rate. 13, 8, 8, 5, 12. He had the 3 the one year, and then 12 again. But I'm sort of with you. I don't know if it's maybe it's Mike Evans fatigue, right? How long have we been talking about Mike Evans?
Certainly part of
I'm
it.
just which that's a lazy take on our part, though. It's tough, but I'm with you. So he barely cracks 1,000 yards just to keep that damn streak going. And that's playing a full 16 games. I mean, if that dude plays 14 games, he gets 880 yards, right? And what is the narrative around him if he gets 880 yards? It's different because he didn't hit that mark.
it becomes a stacking, and not in a good way, not like you stack a wide receiver, but it becomes a stacking principle. People are going to start talking about his diminished production. You're going to talk about his age. You're going to talk about the weapons around him, the quote unquote too many mouths to feed, and then one narrative stacks on the next narrative, stacks on the next narrative, and then this time next year he's not the wide receiver 19, he's the wide receiver 29 if you're lucky.
Right.
And we know the NCAA is giving us 20, 25 wide receivers every year that we quote unquote like,
Right.
and another 25 behind that we have question marks about. So for me, it's not that Mike Evans is going anywhere. It's
Right.
just that at wide receiver 19, I have zero interest at that acquisition cost.
Right. It's tough though, because I like him and I think he's still going to perform well. But it's not going to be at the same rate. And the question is can you get more in a trade now? I don't know if you can. I think a lot of people sort of feel like how you feel now about Mike Evans already.
I think he's a name. I think he's a name that
Which is
gets
fair,
that
I guess.
gets a different trade over the top. You know, maybe you're giving up a little bit in one area, but you know, it's
Okay.
it's
I like that. That's a
I'm
good way
putting
of thinking
it's
it.
like I'm putting Mike Evans in the trade. What do you want? He's a top 20 wide receiver. What do you want?
Look at this salesman.
I mean,
So let's talk about Antonio Brown a little bit. Like,
sure. Let's go home with Antonio Brown. Hey now.
I really think there's a chance he leads that team in receiving yards. I know it's a bit of a stretch, but Antonio Brown is a superior talent to most in the league, even at his age. And he showed some great signs last year. I just think if him and Tom Brady can get in a rhythm, that Antonio Brown could honestly be what Antonio Brown was with Ben Roethlisberger, which we have a history on this podcast of not trusting old guys doing that sort of thing and rebirthing themselves. I don't know. For some reason, I just feel like Antonio Brown is going to do exactly what I, in general, would never believe.
Yeah, I was trying to find some season-long Antonio Brown props. I was going to see if there is like a prop bet out there that who leads the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in receiving. I would be willing to bet the odds-on favorite are probably Mike Evans, and then Chris Godwin, and then Antonio Brown. And if I had to and this is how I think the Vegas sports books would handicap it. I think Mike Evans would be like a plus 150 favorite. So, you know, you would get 150 for every 100 you bet. I think Chris Godwin would be like 225. But I think Antonio Brown would be like plus 400 or plus 450. And I think Antonio Brown would be the best value to lead this team and receive. I mean, Tom Brady loves him. You don't help someone to the level that Tom Brady got him the gig in New England.
Yeah.
Tom Brady couldn't keep him the gig in New England.
No,
but Tom Brady got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to look past all the shenanigans with his misses. He got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to look past the felony charge of fighting with a moving truck driver. And in spite of all of that, he was still there to get Antonio Brown on the Bucs. So this is going to be
real quick. I think
Sure.
a good comment that we got in the chat from FF Pleb, which is awesome. I love the use of Roman Publian terms. You know, he says Brady hits open receivers. He doesn't try to pump their numbers. Brady all about getting the ring no matter what. And I think that's true. I think that's exactly the case. And who's a motherfucking tactician that gets open no matter what and is historically one of the best route runners in the history of the league? Antonio Brown.
And who's the highest paid wide receiver on the Buccaneers? It's Mike Evans. So let me get this straight. He's got his money. He's on his second contract. He's got his money. He got his ring. Do you think Mike Evans is going to be the alpha diva wide receiver saying, "Hey, I got to get I don't think so. He could.
I don't either.
I don't think that fits his personality. So if there's someone of his level of talent that would be okay with being the second or even third banana on the bunch, I think it would be Mike Evans. I think you didn't hear a peep out of him last year. I think these guys are professionals. I think they want to win a second championship.
Yep.
I think they know this is their last run. I don't think you're going to hear Mike Evans make too much noise. So there you go. NFC South, AFC South, off the books. We're going to go do the Beast of the East next week. We're going to go AFC. on Wednesday. You never know. Couldn't get someone to turn around with us in 24 hours, but you never know who will be here with us next week, Jerry.
True. Listen, the East is the fun side.
Could be the
We
least.
got someone. Yeah, it
Could be a beast, could be the
least.
least. I think it'll be somewhere in the middle. I do want to thank FF Plebe. I do want to thank David, Silhouette Gaming, Uriah, and everyone who jumped in the comments on YouTube to talk ball with us tonight. Gerald, man, another great show. Appreciate you. I have been talking, so if you're listening to this on Friday, you might have to hurry over to Hate Brand Goods and see if they still have the blue and floral shorts that are there. I've got mine. How do I can tell you? Because I have got a calendar reminder from good friend and fellow host of the show, Dr. Kyle. He's got the calendar reminder. I'm on the invite. We're going to be ordering ours at 3 p.m. Central Time, so that's 4 p.m. in the East on Thursday, because I'm not missing these. I love the look. You can check them out at thehviii.com. You can use promo code Memphis. I'm going to hear just a word from my man Matt, and then we'll wrap up this show.
Hate Brand Goods, that's us. Very, very proud of the brand and very proud of what we stand for, man. We stand for those. We want to be with those who want to do more. And no matter what your pursuit is and whatever it is, as long as you're holding yourself to a higher standard and you're being accountable to what your goals are, we got your back. Hate Brand Goods, spread hate, always party.
Sounds a lot like the message of us. We hold ourselves accountable. We hold ourselves to a higher standard. That's why we're involved with Matt. Matt's a great dude. He's got a great movie on YouTube. If you want to learn more about him and his brand, just search Matt Vincent and Fragile. You'll find the 40-minute movie. It's pretty cool. So, Jerry, there you go, man. Good times talking to Dirty South. No more Dirty South references. We're going to the East, and I'm looking forward to this one. We're going to talk Josh Allen. We're going to talk Tua Tagovailoa. We're going to talk Miles Gaskin. We're going to talk all these different guys, and I'm looking forward to it. Maybe we'll have some news. Next Tuesday is the opening of camp. You never know who's doing good, who's doing bad. And I think the news segment and the good people, bad tweet segment are going to be off the hook next week.
I can only hope so. So you already pissed off a whole bunch of people with your Kyle Pitts take, so hopefully we can match that. Also, can we just talk about how I'm pretty sure Matt Vincent eats light bulbs as snacks? That dude has got a voice that I would love to narrate my life.
Dude, he is an interesting fellow. He did track and field at LSU, the same LSU that we all love getting football players from. As he puts it, he went on to be a world champion in a sport no one gives a shit about, which is the Highland Games. And now he's just an entrepreneur and motivational speaker type guy, and it's pretty cool. And yeah, he's an interesting cat. He has a podcast. It's called UMSO, UMSO. And I think it usually drops on Friday. And I'm trying real hard to get him, because you know the FF Fit Club, Jerry, of which you're not a member. We'd love to have you. You're just not going to join.
Uh-oh. See, here's the problem. I like bubble tea too much, so it's gonna be tough to hit the FF Fit Club.
FF Fit Club. Well, I'm working. That would be one thing I would love to have Matt on, along with like guys like Nick Whalen, Pete Law, Ray Garvin. I would love to do a bonus podcast at some point just talking about fitness, what motivates us, what gets us to the gym every day, because sometimes everybody needs that. We do want to make the world a better place for fantasy football, and especially Dynasty. That's our passion. You know, Jake and Kyle over at the Fantasy Football Smackdown, they love a redraft. Lou and Tyler love DFS. Dr. Kyle's a degenerate gambler. I have my own proclivities. And then Dallas has been absolutely killing the rookie content. But you know what? It'd be nice to maybe help people in another way. Fitness is important. And so we'll try to do that before the season gets going. But Jerry, another good show, kid.
Yeah, listen, it's always fun. It's always fun to talk.
We love talking ball.
It's always fun to talk divisions. I mean, this is.
I feel like we're doing it.
You don't sit here and you don't talk to people for 3 years like we've done every single week on this show. If football isn't absolutely fucking awesome, right? Like it's just so fun to talk all the time.
And I'm so proud that we're continuing to bring this back to Dynasty value. Nothing against anybody else, how they do their divisional breakdowns and stuff. That's their business. But here, we're just trying to help you get the most value and build the best Dynasty rosters possible. That is the entire intent of the show. If you wanted to hear a traditional breakdown, go listen to Jake and Kyle. They haven't done theirs yet, but the Ballers are doing theirs, and I'm sure ESPN's doing theirs, and they'll give you the more traditional outlook of a division. We just want to give you the outlook of a Dynasty gamer. That's what we do. We think we're damn good at it. And until next time, Jerry, that man's name is Jerry Sinclair. You can follow him on Twitter at JerrySinDWZ. You can follow me at DWZ Memphis. Follow the show at Dynasty WarZone, Instagram, and Twitter. Jerry, let's get out of here.
Let's do it, buddy.
All right. Have a great weekend, guys.